bless my poor husband's heart. My daughter parked behind us, and he has to take the car today. Usually he rides his bicycle to the park and ride, but he has a dentist appointment this afternoon. And I just realized he had to, bless him. Anyway, hi, how you doing? You get in, you come in and you say hi, and guess what? So, I found this new channel. I don't know how new it really is, but it feels newish. It's a man from South Africa. It's Riff-Raff's Reading Renaissance. He is about as opposite from me as a reader in a lot of ways as you can get, except that we both just really love books. But he is a slow reader, and so he doesn't read very many books. And I think slow might have to do more with how much time he has to read. I'm not sure. But he, like me, he has a lot of books, and he has a varied reading style. He likes a lot of different things like me. He doesn't, as far as I can tell, he's not a Christian fiction reader, which I definitely am, but he does like some classics, and he does like some, I think I saw him mention John le Carre, which is someone that I've been wanting to read because spies, yes. So, I mean, we have some similarities, but we're also very, very different. And, but I just really love listening to him talk about books. I love his attitude. I love everything. So I've been really enjoying his channel. And he found this tag that is, if I owned a bookstore. And I was like, I have to do this, right? Right? I mean, my dream is to have, I will try to get a picture of it and put it in here. There is this little, like, trailer bookstore thing that I've seen that I want so badly it isn't even funny. My dream for my husband's retirement would be to take that thing and just travel all over the place and sell books. I think it would be just phenomenal. But it would be, you would have a hard time doing it because go from state to state. You've got to get a business license every single place you go. That part would not be so fun. I'm just saying. But if you could do that without that, it'd be awesome. So anyway, this tag he did not come up with himself. He said Robert G., reader of books, came up with this. So just throwing that out there. Anyway, so there are 10 questions. There are 9 questions and a who are you going to tag. They tend to do that. So there's technically only 9 questions, but here we go. The question number 1 is operating hours. What operating hours would you have? And I've really been thinking about this a lot over the last few years because I'm not the only person who is a night owl. And yet, like in my little town, I mean, people laugh when I call our town a little town. We've got like 25,000 people in the area. It's like a 30 miles, around. But the problem is that we're also 90 miles from anything else. So we are really remote. Like, we know everybody in town. Everybody knows everybody. It's like a town of more like 6,000 to 10,000 people. But for what it's worth, it feels like a very, 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 very small town. So here we are in this little town, despite the fact that technically I think it's a city. We could not support an all-night bookstore, except that I write all night anyway. So I think if I owned my own bookstore, I think I would have somebody there between the hours of at least 9 in the morning, if not 6 in the morning, like when I go to bed, but at least 9 in the morning until like 9 p.m. I would have an employee being there during that time. And then I would be there from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. so that it could be open all night, because there is nothing more frustrating than finishing a book at 2 in the morning. And especially if you're like me and you want to keep reading and read the next book, but you can't because nobody's open. I'm just saying, wouldn't it be cool? Like, you can't sleep. You're an insomniac. You can't sleep. You need a book. And everything on your shelf you've read. Okay, there are people who have that problem. I am not one of them. If I ever have insomnia, I am set. I will never have a problem having some choice as to what to read. I'm just saying. But there are people who actually have read everything on their shelves. This is a thing. I have a hard time imagining it, but it is a thing. It used to be me. I'm just putting that out there. So, they would be able to drive on down, pick out something to help them while away the time until their body and their brain finally connected and started playing nice with each other again. See what I mean? I'm thinking if I had to choose hours, I would not have a choice. I could not keep the store open between the hours of 6 a.m. and 2 p.m. It's not possible. I'm asleep then. And if I don't get my sleep, I don't do well. So people think I don't sleep at all. No, I sleep a lot because I need my sleep. I always have. I always get sick if I don't get enough sleep. Okay. But I just happen to sleep weird hours. So I would be open if it was only me, I'm the only employee, I would probably open at 3 and close at 5 in the morning. It would just be a night business. And which probably would not be good for business, but you know what? Sorry, it's what it is. So question number 1, hours of operation. I'm gonna say, I'm just gonna assume it's only me running it, and it's 5 a.m. 3 p.m. to 5 a.m. Question 2, music playing. And that's a tough one. The problem is it could not be music that has any words associated with it at all. Because for some of us, if words are there, even like some songs, especially in like the 40s, some classical music, they wrote words to, like Chopin has I think it's an etude. I can't remember. I get them all confused. But it is a song that, like, Joe Stafford sang "No Other Love" is sung to that song. So here it is, a classical piece that people think of, and they're like, oh, okay. But it's not. And then the movie Anchors Away, actually Frank Sinatra is talking to Jose Iturbi about, I think it was Tchaikovsky. And, you know, he was like, yeah, this is Tchaikovsky. And Sinatra was like, oh no, so-and-so sang that. And Iturbi just throws out this line of like, oh, you know, those fellows, they steal from each other. And he just kind of just let it go. But that what happens. And so, like, even classical music would be very difficult to play. I like the idea in Clock Tower Bound, she has ambient sounds of nature and pages turning and everything playing through her sound system. That it doesn't pull you out of reading because your brain isn't trying to follow another thing. But on the other hand, things like Vivaldi, the Seasons in particular, is supposed to be really good to listen to while you read. So that's a tough one. I'm going to say sometimes, but never anything that I know there are lyrics associated with. We're going to go with that. All that talk for that. That's a bit much, but oh well. Okay. The question 3, coffee and alcohol. Alcohol, no. I am not opposed to the drinking of alcohol in principle. But when it comes to books, yeah, no. I'm not going to get a liquor license and deal with people who might want more than is safe. I'm not going to want to think about somebody having to decide, can they drive safely? I don't want any of that. So the alcohol is an absolute no. I did consider, you know, what about because there's a place in town where you can bring your own alcohol and play games and stuff, but they don't serve alcohol. You have to bring your own. And I thought about that. Would I let people bring their own wine or something? And I'm like, yeah, no. Still, I don't want to think, I don't want to wonder if someone is safe to drive. So the answer would be absolutely no. I don't want that. That's just my brain. It's like, no, not going there. But then there's like coffee and tea. They didn't ask about tea. They asked about coffee and alcohol. But I would definitely be okay with coffee and tea. Again, I don't think I would necessarily have because you're dealing with a license, and you've got to have someone there who is going to fix these things and all the stuff. But I might have a coffee and tea bar that you fix yourself. I think that what I would probably do. I would definitely want people to sit around and just drink and enjoy books in my store. Absolutely. But I don't think I'd want to sell drinks. You know? I don't think so. So instead, I think it would definitely have to be a more of a serve yourself coffee, tea thing. Have a few different varieties of each and call it good. I think that's the way I would go for it. Question for the setup of the store. Now, it was funny because when and I was kind of doing this in my head with him, but then, like I've had stuff percolating ever since then. I've forgotten a lot of the questions, but some of the other ones, they stuck in my mind. But it was really funny. This is the one that when he read the question, my mind immediately went to, oh, I would do this. And then he started kind of describing what my brain was doing. So I would want the bookstore to be in an old house. It's hard because my brain really deeply wants stairs, so that you're going upstairs because it just feels so good. But do you know what a pain that is, and what a nightmare it is for liability and everything? So probably not. I'm probably thinking more of a California bungalow style house with just slightly bigger than most, because I would want several rooms. But like the coffee bar could be in one of the little kitchens that they had in those bungalows, craftsman style kind of thing, but can you picture, like on the counter, you can have all your drinks and your stuff over there, but then where they used to put the little kitchen table and everything, you've got a couch and everything in there, and that's kind of separated. But then, you've got one room that has like mystery, suspense, and whatnot, and then you've got another room that's got all the classics and more. This is what my granny would have called, stuffy books. Just the books that are for somebody is always looking for one of those books, whether it's Dickens or Virginia Woolf or Edith Wharton or Victor Hugo or Alexander Dumas, whatever. And even like Ishiguro, what's his name? I think it's a him, not a her. The Remains of the Day guy. He is, he's still a classic, if you will. And so something like that, a room for those, a room for nonfiction, and each wall could be a different thing. And then you've got your center area where you can have places for people to sit and just relax and read. I'm just loving it. Can you imagine the one of those old houses, if you got one, if instead of a California bungalow you had one of those old kit houses from like Sears, a lot of times they had like the little screened in porch that people later turned into like an actual finished room. That finished room, they did it for like an entryway, right? Well, that could actually be your, where the register and all those kinds of things are, so that the house itself, I mean, can you imagine? My brain I want this so bad. Almost as much, if not more. Well, because my dream of a trailer is so impossible, I actually want this more. This, please, absolutely, I want to have this store. It would just be awesome. You got a whole room of just children's literature. Yes, please. So yeah, the style and layout of the store would be definitely a one story. If it had two stories, the second story would be like an attic, and I would use it for storage. It would not be for customers, but having the gabled roofs with a finished attic in there to be able to put extra stock and stuff like that up there would be really nice. Just saying. This is California. We don't have very many basements here. It's not that there are none. I know of two in town for sure. There might be two houses, but our McDonald's has a basement, and my friend, she's like 2 blocks this way and 2 blocks that way, their old house over there, she had a basement. But most people in this town do not have basements. Why? Because we are quaking all the time here. So, now if I was in another state, then all bets are off. Okay. 5, live entertainment and community events. Okay, live entertainment and community events. I can't imagine not allowing it. I can't imagine not wanting it. I mean, like book clubs and readings and, you know, author events, absolutely. But I know. Yeah, I would, because a house would have a backyard, which means I could have a patio, and I could also turn that into an all-season patio by putting in actual windows and things so that we could have stuff year-round. So yes, absolutely, that would be where we would have our events. We could have book clubs out there. We could have, you know, author, you know, meet and greet author things, book lunches, local bands or whatever could. I would have a hard time with that, though. I don't want anyone talking in a bookstore. People are going to work now. You know, but bookstore, they're not a library. I don't want that. But again, once you have music where there might be lyrics, it is distracting to someone trying to read. But I probably would still allow it. Just that kind of thing would have to be not very often. You know, it couldn't be a weekly thing. But it would still be such a cool thing that I don't think I could say no. So yeah, definitely events, live entertainment, community events. Okay, question 6, store location. So location. I'm just going to assume that it's not in our town, because this town is too small. There's no way that our town would support another bookstore, and I wouldn't want anything to happen to the one we have. So I'm going to say a bungalow style single story house with a finished attic for storage up there, no basement, because I'm assuming I'm somewhere that basements aren't safe. You know, we only have like 2 or 3 in this town. So I'm just assuming. But it could be somewhere else in the country. It could be in Indiana or in East Tennessee or in Missouri, or, you know, I don't know where it would be, but it could be somewhere else. I can't say. I just don't know. So hard. It says external appearance, and it still would just look like a house. The outside, like the backyard, we would have that's where those live events could be. You know, they could be there in a, you know, on a patio that's been closed in for all weather. So the colder months it could, you know. So I think it would really work. But I would want something very cozy and traditional looking. I'm not looking for a modern building at all. It's just not my style. No. Okay. Question 8. Book specialties, used versus new, genres, etc. My instinct is to go Christian bookstore. Okay, that's my instinct. But I love too many things that aren't Christian books And if somebody's looking for something, like somebody is talking to me and I know they're looking for Christian fiction, but I also know that they would really love this series over here, I'm going to tell them about that series. I mean, there's that group, Avid Readers of Christian Fiction, on Facebook. If you love Christian fiction and you're not in there, you need to be, because people ask for the most highly specific, it's like, does anybody know a book about elephants that takes place in Maine? And somebody will know that there's a book about elephants that takes place in Maine. It's amazing. So, in there, it's very simple. You don't get to define if a book is Christian enough for other people, which I really appreciate. They let the readers decide if it's Christian enough. But it is for Christian fiction. If you are recommending, even Louisa May Alcott, who has faith in her books, it wasn't written as Christian fiction, and so it's not what you're going to recommend there. Okay. And so there are times that people are asking for books that I know this book this person would love, but I can't offer it there because this is the rules, and they don't have very many rules, but the rules they do have, they stick to. It's kind of the same thing. If I had a Christian fiction bookstore, I would start pulling on those other things in anyway, because I know people would enjoy it. I will say that if I was running a bookstore, there's a lot of very popular fiction that would not make it into my bookstore. I would be pretty much selling a clean ish bookstore. I mean, like A Man Called Uba, I'm pretty sure there were a few words in there that I didn't appreciate. That book I wouldn't have no problem having in the store. But there are other books that I may even have liked things about that I wouldn't carry. So it would be a mostly clean. It might not be super squeaky clean. I mean, Mrs. Polifax has a few words that I don't like. I'm just saying. But it would be a fairly clean reads store. Just because I couldn't sell books in a store that I would be ashamed to hand someone. You know what I mean? I just couldn't. So it would be an interesting store, let me tell you. Okay, and then question 9, naming the store. This is the question I had the hardest time not thinking about. I really did try not to think about these questions too much. Some I couldn't resist, like what kind of bookstore. Immediately I had that picture in my mind that it was definitely going to be house. And then I tried to come up with different ideas about what about this or what about that. And then I kept trying to push it aside and push it aside and push it aside. The one I had the hardest time pushing aside and the one hardest time coming up with was number 9, naming the store. Yeah. Here's the deal. So, like, Twice Sold Tales is the name of the first Bookstrings full-length novel. I love the title Twice Sold Tales. It's a great name for a used bookstore. Clock Tower Bound is not one that would have appealed to me unless I lived in Bern. But the problem is that because of the building it's in, it needed to be that. But seriously, if I opened a bookstore in Bern, I absolutely would have gone with Burned Books because, I mean, come on. So as you can see, I really like plays on words. Yeah. I like right now, one of the working titles that I have for a future book is Copperfield and Twist. I love the juxtaposition of those two. I think they sound really cool. But I don't even really care much for Dickens. He's not my favorite. So why? I don't know. Then there's the one I want to do that takes place in Arkansas, Flippin' Pages, because there's a town in Arkansas called Flippin', Arkansas. And Dad burn it, I want Flippin' Pages because I think that would be hilarious. Don't you think? I mean, come on. So it could be, depending on where the store was, it might be that we would have to do that. We might have to go with something local. Like in Knoll, my name isn't Hart, and so Heart of Knoll wouldn't work for me. I could spell it Heart, because, you know, books are with the way to my heart, right? But I don't see myself doing that. But it's very close to the Bluff Dweller's Cave, and so then I'm like, ooh, Bluff Dweller's Books, that's kind of cool. I kind of like that, but I like plays on words even more. So I just don't know what I would name a bookstore, because I don't have an actual location for sure. And I think that's the hardest part. If I absolutely knew where the store was, if I had a town name, then maybe. So some of the books that titles that I had, I had Copperfield and Twist, Dead Tree Drams, The Besotted Bookworm. Come on, that's the one. Okay, we're just gonna cut all that out. So basically what it boiled down to, trying to find a name for this book. You know, Flippin' Pages, I love that, but it only is good if it's in Flippin' Arkansas, right? So I went through and I started looking at all the titles that I've been saving for the Bookstrings books, and I realized, oh, duh. Without a doubt, as much as I like Copperfield and Twist, it just sounds like really classy almost. You know, I can see it belongs in England, and those old high street store with the copper plate store name above the door. You know, the big long thing that goes across the whole building. I can just see Copperfield and Twist. It would be so cool, but no, I would be the Besotted Bookworm, because I think that is just the most adorable thing ever, and that's what I would do. So there you go. Number 10 is supposed to be tag. I don't tag people in particular because, one, it's really funny because I don't mind being tagged, but I don't want anyone to ever feel like there's any pressure if I tag them, so I don't do it. So I'm basically a hypocrite. And that's just going to have to be with it. I hope somebody will do this because I love this concept. And I think I might redo this from the perspective. We'll see if I can pull this off. I mean, I'm picturing maybe even trying to get like Lorna to do this with me, where she could be one of my characters. But I think this would be fun to do as characters. Before they open their store. And so like almost a character telling you about the store that you would read in the Bookstring series. So Joshua Hart would be talking about Heart of Knoll, and Mercedes, what's her face? I can't remember her last name, would be talking about, my goodness, I can't even remember my own character. What on earth is her name? Anyway, Spines and Leaves, and then Harper Brevig. No, I did not get Brevig from my last name. People think that I kind of used my name in there. No, Brevig is an actual name of an actual family in Red Wing, Minnesota. I used actual names. In places that are real places, I use real names from people who live there, common names in the area. And Brevig was one that I saw several times on the Facebook group, so I went with it. But anyway, so Harper Brevig, she would be there and talking about how, you know, she inherited the store, and but if she had her own store, you know, what she would have done, would it be the same, would it be different? You know, I think that would be fun. And then Clock Tower, you know, Anne Montgomery talking about her story and on what, I mean, oh my goodness, it would be so much fun. So what do you think? Should I do that? I just think it would be fun. And if I could get Lorna to be, if I could get Kayleen to be Anne for me. She has red hair. I'm just saying. All right, Shalise, do you think she would do it if I begged her? I doubt she would, but maybe she would. She might. I might be able to talk her into it. What do you think? And maybe Shalise would do one for me. She could be Mercedes for me. What do you think, Shalise? Huh? Anyway, so that's what you have it. If I owned a bookstore, that's the tag. And thank you to Riff-Raff's Reading Renaissance. It's very hard to say that. I have a little bit more compassion for Krista right now. This was a lot of fun. Really enjoy his channel. If you like a variety of reading, you might really enjoy. He just has a very intelligent way of discussing books without being supercilious about it. He's just very down to earth, and yet he's clearly an intelligent person, and I really just enjoy listening to him talk about books. He doesn't have that many videos up. I mean, he's got a dozen or two. I think it's closer to 2 than 1, but you know, still. But yeah, just really enjoying him. Anywho, that was the tag. I'm going to get back to work because I should be going to bed in half an hour and I'm way behind. So I will see you later.